Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And as a reminder, the Act Two is a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. We have this podcast. It's one of the things we do, so thank you for joining us here. You can also subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming topics and awesome interviews with various showrunners, agents, lawyers, producers, all the things that are coming up. You can also DM us with questions, topic suggestions, or you just want to say hi.
Yeah.
You can do that at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram and Twitters.
Yeah.
I guess I'm on the things. Okay.
Yeah.
Tasha.
I'm just going to keep saying yeah.
I'm on Instagram at Story Thursday and Twitter at Tasha 3.0 if you want to say hi there as well.
And I am Joshua Hallman on Twitter. Josh Hallman on Instagram. If you want to come say hi. Tasha.
Yeah.
For reasons beyond my comprehension. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm not caffeinated. I'm not coming in with caffeine.
Oh, God. You know, I messed up our Amazon order, our subscription, and there's not an overlap wherein we have coffee in the house. So I don't have any coffee.
Oh my God. I am really, really sorry.
It's not good.
Did you know that there's still physical stores and you can drive to them?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Also, I had to wake up and read a script this morning, so I didn't have time to go anywhere.
Oh, okay. That's acceptable. That's work. Okay. You're off the hook then.
Thank you.
We have a big day today.
Yeah, we got some cool stuff to talk about. We're doing part 2 of our industry terms.
Backed by popular demand.
Indeed, like seriously popular demand. So I'm excited because we all know how excited I was about this topic last week.
There's some topics on this I hadn't even heard of. I still don't know, so I'm going to have you explain.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Is it time for This Week in Writing?
This Week in Writing.
All right. Do you want to start or shall I?
You go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to start slow with my lightweight This Week in Writing, which is ING has reported that Super Mario Brothers passes $500 million globally, I'm assuming, becoming the biggest video game adaptation of all time.
Yeah.
As a fan of Tomb Raider and World of Warcraft and basically every video game movie to ever be adapted, this upsets me.
It does?
I think it does.
Why?
I have not even seen this movie. I'm seeing it later this week, so I can't really say. And look, our generation completely grew up on Super Mario and Mario Brothers, just Mario Brothers in general. I've played every edition there is, and except for Mario Kart, which I refuse to play.
What?
I won't talk about that because apparently that's a controversial opinion.
Yeah, that's a hot button topic. Jesus. What's going on this morning?
Because it's for weaklings. It's not for anyways.
Mario? Super Mario Kart?
Mario Kart.
You've never played any iteration of Mario Kart.
I think I played once and then was angry, and so I never played again.
Okay. We're going to have a whole other episode on this.
I feel like we're losing a lot of fans right now. People are not coming back.
Don't leave. I still love Mario Kart.
But you mentioned that you had notes on Mario, which I'm excited to talk about next week after I've seen the movie. And I don't know if I want the best. It didn't say best video game movie of all time. It just said the highest grossing.
Yeah.
To be Mario.
I think this, first of all, what's really crazy is I like the movie and I want to see it again, actually. There's something about it. There's something about this movie that just makes me want to see it again.
Is it because you want to live in that world again?
I don't know. There's just sometimes I have to see it again so I can figure it out. It's just a fun movie. It's 90 minutes. It's like in and out.
Oh,
and,
interesting.
Yeah, now you're like, oh, maybe I'll go later today. I actually think this is I think we might have talked about this last episode, but it's like the perfect movie because, like you said, we played it growing up. And then now there's kids of people like our age that want to see the movie. So it's like the parents want to see it, or the adults want to see it, and the kids want to see it. Like, for instance, not everyone's seen the Minions.
Yeah.
But, like, not every adult is going to see the Minions. We'd probably see the Minions. Or maybe you haven't even seen the Minions. But my point being is, I feel like adults would see Mario because they played it when they were younger.
It's true. It's that 4-quadrant hot spot we were talking about.
It is. And it's fun. And just is in and out. But yes, I have some notes. And yes, we will talk about it.
Okay. I'm happy for it. It does nothing but help my genre.
It helps, and it helps theaters.
Does.
I love it.
Okay. I'm turned. I'm so happy for Mario. And Universal.
I can't wait until we talk about it. All right, I kind of have a light one.
Okay.
And then I have something a little more serious. I'm sure you've seen this. You've sent it to me. This Blockbuster video thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is Blockbuster coming back? Number one. So, for those who don't know, Tasha sent me a link that was like blockbuster.com, and it said like, please be kind, we'll rewind. And then I looked at their Twitter, and it was it looks as though Blockbuster, whoever was the CEO or whoever was running Blockbuster, had this like Twitter handle and was like, what do we do with this? And they're like, let's just find someone in their 20s to fuck around. And they gave it to someone, and that's what they're doing, right? That's how it feels looking at their Twitter feed. And it got me thinking, like, could Blockbuster come back in like a retro version of it?
I think so. You know what? We get so pissed off that Netflix or Amazon is no longer hosts movies that we want to see or shows we want to see, right? We get really pissed off. Like, they're not releasing Batwoman, sorry. Like, all these things that we get pissed. And then we live in an era that because everything is digital, as soon as something gets taken off a streaming service and that you can't even buy or rent on Amazon, you're fucked. You cannot go see this movie from the 90s or the 80s or even this, like, any movie that you could just pick up at Blockbuster back in the day. You just can't watch it now. If they came in and they swooped in and they're like, oh, those movies you wish you could see that have now been taken off the streaming platforms, boom, here it is all in one place.
Do you own a DVD player?
I own a PS5.
Okay.
That operates as a DVD player.
I'm wondering, because you know how cassettes made a little bit of a comeback?
Yeah.
Did you know that? And like vinyl is fully made a comeback?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a world in which a VHS might make some kind of comeback. Is it possible?
VHS is tough because the quality is so much lower. It would have to at least be DVDs.
No, that's the appeal.
Is that that's the appeal.
You put in the VHS
Retro.
and it's like, here, you're watching a VHS now. Enjoy it.
Ooh, interesting.
I feel like
I'm not opposed.
I wouldn't do it, but I'm not opposed either.
I want my HD 4D.
I just want to be able to stop something, not have a VHS player, a DVD player. All right. And I don't like things like
objects that clutter your house.
Yeah, get them out.
That's fair.
I guess I just answered my own question.
Yeah, you're going to bring down blockbuster.com and I'm going to prop it up.
No, I would definitely. I feel like Blockbuster should reopen as like a place, I don't know, like a bar or something like that where they just play movies.
Cool.
And you can rent movies out of it.
Oh my god, that's the dream.
Like a speakeasy.
Is that my new dream?
I think hear me out. Act 2.
Yes.
Plus Blockbuster equals the bar where you can write, you have some drinks, you rent movies.
Writers groups. Ooh. Fuck. More on that coming your way.
Okay. To be continued on that.
Okay. My second this week in writing is that I'm very nervous because today I'm meeting with a director on something. And it's basically a job interview. It's billed as, hey, you want to meet this director on this new property? But basically, it is a job interview for me to go and A, make sure I'm not a psychopath.
Uh-oh.
B, like I'm someone he it's still up in the air. B, am I someone he would want to work with for years to come on this project? I know, it's a lot of pressure.
Okay.
And then 3, can I speak about the property with some kind of intelligence and forethought and ingenuity, and also come up with something that like the other writer he's meeting at 5 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock, like me, like that 4 o'clock meeting sticks in his head, right? That the things that I pitch him as possible ideas or ways for this show to go are memorable. And he's like, that Tasha girl, she was super smart. And man, she was funny. Those jokes.
Yeah. They nailed them.
I should not do jokes. I'm really bad.
No way. So I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Number 1, are you sure the next meeting is exactly 1 hour after yours?
No, but I know that he's meeting with a very few writers in a short span of time. So it easily could be just like maybe the next day, the next morning. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what writer you are that he's meeting in the order?
Ooh, I do not. I am guessing last.
Ooh.
I had another job interview meeting before with this other production company and like finance company who is doing a TV show, like a live action TV show that's very much in my wheelhouse. And so I was meeting with them generally, again, not a psychopath, an okay person to work with, smart, all those things. It was a job interview, as well as just meeting these people for the first time. And then in that just sort of general conversation that we had, I found out that they had this other property. And I was like, oh shit, where's that property at? And they're like, oh, it's with Netflix, who you already are working with. And it's with an exec that you're very familiar with. So I was like, oh, I'm going to reach out to that exec. And she was like, oh, yeah, we're meeting on this, but I thought you were too busy, so I just didn't even let you know about it. But if you want to come in and meet on it, absolutely, let's go for it. So I think I was the last person in by accident.
This is great. I feel like you either want to be first or last.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, you're going to nail it.
I'll take that.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right, well, I'm excited to hear about you getting the job.
There's just so much pressure on these things. Like, it's just so much pressure. You have to do so much work leading up to the meeting. You have to do so much prep. And then there's pressure to be brilliant, but like in an hour-long meeting and with only like a few days of prep, how are you supposed to break a TV show enough to show them that you're intelligent enough to like run this show? It's because I feel like you feel pressure to tell them this is what the show is. And you're like, but I only had 2 days to prepare. I don't know what the show is.
Yeah, because that's tough because you don't want to step on the director's vision with your vision. You want to make it sound like it's an equal vision, so you're on the same page.
Right. What is your vision? How can I help make your vision come to fruition? And have you thought about this new idea, which maybe will make your vision even greater?
This goes back to that Macquarie thing that we talked about like weeks ago, where he said that his life kind of changed in the entertainment world when he stopped looking at like things as getting a job and more so how can I help you achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. I'm going to take that McHugh story with me and try and use that energy.
Oh yeah. McHugh, we're there. We're on that name basis with him.
He doesn't know it, but yes.
What's up, McHugh? Like, who are you?
Shit.
You're gonna kill it though. But yeah, that I feel like maybe you can just start it off and be like, so what's your vision?
I think you just play it casual. You just act like I'm just meeting this dude and hey man, you're cool. What's up?
It's so easy to overthink these things.
I'm gonna fail.
It's so easy to overthink these things.
I'm overthinking it. I think I just gotta act like it's a general.
It is a general, and you're gonna kill it. We both know you're gonna kill it. Everyone knows you're gonna kill it.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you guys know next week.
Okay. I have one more writer thing.
Okay.
For whatever reason, last week was a little hectic in my world. And so I got out of my rhythm of writing, my normal, wake up, when I write, how I write, everything, my hours. It got just thrown out the window. And then it's been a little difficult to get back into my rhythm. And I was reminded on how important it is to create like the writing habit and just be like, okay, this is when I'm gonna get this done, as opposed to being like, all right, I'm gonna get this done now at 11 p.m. at night and work for the next 2 hours. Like I was on to something and then it blew up and now I'm trying to get it back. And so I feel like we've talked about this, or I've talked to other people about it, but like creating the habit and creating the rhythm, I feel like are so important.
Yeah.
when you're just writing stuff.
Do you feel like having a good rhythm and habit can protect you from these inevitable life events where things get thrown all sorts of ways and then you come back on a Monday and you just fall right back into that rhythm that you were used to? Or do you feel like we should just never be thrown off?
Well, I wish you could. Well, being thrown off is inevitable, but I will say it's good to know that I have to get back into what I was into, if that makes any sense. Like, okay, I can sit at my computer from, 9 to 2 or whatever it is, and that's my time. And I break at this time, and I eat lunch at this time, and I check YouTube at that time. That was my thing. So I need to get back there.
Yeah, because then when you come back from being flustered from a family weekend or something, or a week-long event that just throws off all the writing, if you know what you're always used to, you almost don't have to think about it, right? You just fall back into, okay, I know that from 11 to 2 I'm working. So I'm probably so stressed out from that week, but I don't have to stress about when my writing time is because I already know from a past ritual. We
need to say one more thing.
Okay.
It's about the writer's strike.
Oh, yes. Okay.
We haven't really talked about it.
We've very deliberately not talked about the writer's strike. It's obviously out there. It's obviously scaring a lot of people on both sides of the fence. We've been getting emails about it where people are asking us for advice on what they can and cannot do during a strike or what it all means. And the reason we're deliberately not talking about it is because there are so many voices out there already. There's a lot of writers out there on Twitter with their opinions, reposting articles. There's a lot of people on the other side, studios and, places like Deadline and Variety who have their own opinions about how things are going, that there's just so much noise. I didn't feel like we could particularly add anything to that conversation. Not to mention, we don't know what's going to happen. So anything on this podcast would be predicting. There are plenty of people we could have brought on, but all they would be doing is guessing, predicting, conjuring fear, in my opinion.
Yeah.
About what may or may not happen. And we're kind of a podcast that's about keeping your head down and working, and we'll deal with whatever comes when it comes. And when it comes, we can talk about it. But for example, I wrote my WGA rep and was like, hey, what are some of the rules we can look forward to as showrunners? And the answer is kind of like, we don't know yet. We don't really know until the strike happens what our rules are going to be. So again, that's another reason we don't talk about it a lot on here, is because nobody really knows a lot. I would say, just as a way to sort of get through the news, if it is an interesting topic to you, is to pay attention what the WGA is officially posting versus what Variety or Deadline is posting, because that's just where you're going to get more of the facts on what the writers are thinking, etc. So we're never going to speak of it again.
Until we do.
Until it happens, if it happens.
All right, well.
All right.
The main topic.
Industry terms. So again, we got so many suggestions and people really excited to add other terms to the list that they keep hearing, that we felt we needed to expand this a bit and do another one. And who knows, we may do yet another one. And, can I just say, as just an editorial before we get into these, to some people who are, producers and studio execs whom I've talked to who are giving these words to writers, it's interesting that some of them actually are embarrassed that they use them. They feel like they understand that it's a shortcut word. They understand that it sort of diminishes the note that they're trying to give, but they also understand that the shorthand is really helpful for them to get across information. So I just thought that was an interesting perspective that we don't, as writers, typically think of.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, I'll start it off. A big one that Josh and I probably hear a lot in our genre, action movies, world building movies, is that this needs more scope. Give it more scope. This is actually what?
I was just laughing. I was thinking about notes I've gotten.
Give it less scope. That's actually what I get.
It's a little big.
It's a little bit less scope, please. More narrow.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I laughed because not long ago I got this note and I was like,
oh yeah,
what is that? What do you mean less scope, or like it's too much scope or whatever? Anyway, sorry, I cut you off. Keep going.
I think a good illustration that comes to my mind immediately is Paul, my husband, is an editor. He was editing a trailer and he got a note back from the studio that was, hey, can we add more scope to the trailer of this show? And he was like, well, what does that mean? And it means make the show feel bigger, right? It was a show, as a comedy that took place mainly in this one house, but they want the show to feel bigger so that people feel like it's a bigger world. So what he ended up doing was he ended up adding shots that were at a county fair, that were at a school, that were at a parking lot, just different locations, even though those scenes were very small. So that's why he didn't include them originally. He found a way to make them feel like, oh, and now when I watch this trailer, it feels like this show takes place all over the place.
Right.
And that makes it feel bigger and more interesting. So that's just a small example of what it means to add more scope. Like in a James Bond movie, for instance, we're always traveling to different countries around the world. In a sci-fi movie, we're traveling to different planets. That gives it scope. It makes it feel like a big epic movie versus a small movie that takes place in a small area.
Yeah. I was thinking about this with contained movies that somehow are smaller, but they feel bigger.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the movie Insidious came to mind.
Sure.
I don't know if you remember that, but it takes place in this house, and then the father goes into somewhere, and it just feels like he's in a different realm.
Yeah.
And it's like a smaller realm, and it still feels small, but it feels like the world is very big, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, they made multiple movies off of that, I think, because of that idea.
Yeah. Not to keep talking too much about this because you kind of just pressed on this, but I had recently worked on something where it basically took place over one day. And we were like, well, it's kind of constraining us, so why don't we make it over a few days? And we're going to also take it out of the United States and put it somewhere else. And it was just a few little tweaks that made the movie feel much bigger because of that. And it opened the scope of the movie. And that was kind of the note that the producer and I were getting was like, yeah, this feels much bigger all of a sudden. And we barely changed it. We changed one location and just made it over a few days rather than one day.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of when I've gotten this note about scope. Obviously, to add scope will inevitably add to the budget, just because you're taking it out of a house and you're now in Italy or wherever. But I also feel like when people give this note, they don't necessarily mean make this a bigger movie. They're almost like trying to say, can you trick the audience into making this feel bigger without really making this movie that much bigger? I think that can be a nuance of scope. So I would say if you get this note, do clarify, because I've definitely also gotten this note where they're like, yeah, make it bigger. Just make it bigger. Who cares? But then I've also gotten this note where it's like, can we trick the audience into making it feel bigger without actually making it bigger? So just if you're confused about the note when you get it, I would ask for a little more clarity, but that's generally what it means.
Tricking people into making something feel bigger is really hard to do, but it's really important. And I think an example I just thought of was Knock at the Cabin from our boy, Steve Desmond, your boy, our Act Two's boy. And they used news reports to show that things were going on outside the world. So it's outside of the cabin now, around the world, these things are happening. And I feel like that's a trick where if you're in one location, you can, make phone calls out. There's news reports. It's like things are happening outside of you.
Yeah.
And the world feels like it's being affected maybe by whatever is happening with you.
Yeah. That's a great example.
I'm going to be done
Good job,
with scope
Steve.
now. Thank you, Steve. All right, the next one.
Also Michael Sherman. Who co-wrote
What's that?
Also Michael Sherman, who co-wrote it. But Steve was on the podcast, which is why we mentioned him.
My bad. My bad, Michael. The next term. Everyone's favorite. Save the cat.
Blech.
Oh, get out of here. This is such a great term. No, I'm just kidding.
I love this concept. The term makes me sick.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it because of the book?
Yes, because it just represents people who are trying to find shortcuts to writing and find a formula. There's no formula, but there is a little bit.
Yeah, it's called Save the Cat. And so what is Save the Cat?
Save the Cat is great in that it really does work. So, I mean, John Wick is the perfect example. He saves the dog, right? I'm gonna take an arbitrary example though as a Save the Cat thing. Okay, so I mean, yes, the dog dies, but he tries to save the dog. So let's say we have this asshole character who we open our movie with. The first 15 minutes is just him knocking over the tip jar of a waitress and tripping someone walking across the street. Like, he's just a total asshole. Why am I watching this movie following this guy? And then he saves a cat from being run over by a car. And he takes the cat home and he nurses it back to health. And suddenly you're like, oh, this guy has a heart. Okay, I'm willing to hear him out. That is a very extreme example of Save the Cat, but that is what Save the Cat is.
Yeah, well, wasn't it from Sigourney Weaver actually saving a cat in Alien?
Is that the root of this term?
Yeah.
Huh.
You know, there might be something.
But that doesn't... Okay, yeah, obviously she saves the cat from Alien, but she's already likable at that point, so that doesn't actually service this term.
Okay.
I like it more now, though. I like it more.
There we go. All right, next term.
No. I want to hold on this one for a second because it doesn't have to be a cat, by the way. It's very little. Josh is losing it. There's a very literal phrase here, save the cat. But it can be anything. It could be a child. It could be a bug. It doesn't even have to be an organic thing. Mm-hmm. It's just the concept itself is show your character saving something, showing them doing something emotional and empathetic, basically. Yeah. And then your audience will be invested in them.
Absolutely. Just that compassion from your main character, because it also gives you're like, wow, they are nice. There's something more to this character rather than just a straight up dickhead.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be saving the thing. Like I co-wrote something with Dave Levinson, friend of the podcast.
Shout out to Dave.
Who, that we had a character who was a jerk when you first meet him. He was just very closed off. He was this kind of bounty hunter character. And then in a scene in a bar, this little boy is going around. He's clearly a starving child. And this is like in a post-apocalyptic world. And he's going around like asking for alms in his little like bean jar. And no one's giving him shit. People are kicking him and like making fun of him. But the little boy comes up to our main character and he gives him some money. And he says, get out of here, go somewhere safe. So he's not saving the boy from, a car that's about to run him over. But he has a nice, genuine, sweet, empathetic moment with him. And that's enough for you to be like, okay, this guy has heart. So those are just examples of Save the Cat. I think it's really important, even though I hate it and didn't know the root of it.
Are you telling me that you wrote another thing where a child is being ridiculed?
Oh, man. I'm sorry to all the parents out there. Moving on. Producers, execs, people giving you notes will often say, let's take a 30,000-foot view, 50,000-foot view, whatever 1,000-foot view of this. And what that means is literally imagine yourself up in the air, flying high as a bird, looking down on the earth. You get a new perspective of how everything functions, right? You're seeing how freeways, which usually just piss you off so much because there's so much traffic, actually are designed in a very particular way. Or maybe they're designed in a terrible way, and that's why there's traffic. Or you're seeing, oh, I didn't realize there were parks over here, and I should really go to that park. You're seeing things from a new perspective. So when we say 50,000-foot view, it's saying take a wider look at this script. And if we do that, what are the main sort of problems with the script? What are the things we love about the script that we don't want to lose? And the opposite of 50,000 foot view would be scene work, right? Going right into a scene and being the way that these characters speak to each other, the way that it feels, the grittiness in the air. Like that's super, super specific. And I can work with that scene and like it's a puzzle. But if I go bigger, I can say, okay, now I have a new perspective on what scenes I love and what scenes kind of maybe I don't need. And how is this whole episode or movie arcing just in a very general way. So I think it's an exceptionally helpful way to look at the story. And in fact, in television, they have this kind of big sky or blue sky period, usually around 2 weeks before you get into sort of the more narrower specifics of episode to episode. And it's called that kind of 50,000 foot view period because that's why it's blue sky, right? You're up in the air, you're looking down at the season as a whole or the show as a whole, and you're saying, what are the key things that I need? What are the moments that audiences are going to really want? What are the overall character arcs that I want? You're just thinking in big sweeping scope, and then you go more narrow. And I think that's extremely helpful in your own development. When you're thinking of your own movies and your own pilots that you want to do, start from that 50,000 foot view like they do in TV. And it really, really helps, I think.
I agree. I love it. I once had a producer say to me, there's some problems. Let's take a look under the hood. And
that's a good one.
Yeah. I was like, all right, we're gonna pop open the hood, take a look. And, but this is so helpful because a lot of times when you're stuck and you don't know what the problem is, but there is a problem, you got to take the step back, the 50,000 foot view, 30,000, whatever it is, and just take a look at the big picture.
Yeah, it's super helpful.
Moving on. One of my favorite ones, comps. So comps are essentially comparing like what your movie is to the general public.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah. It's taking popular movies or shows that other people have seen and saying, the thing I'm writing is like that, so that we can be like, oh, I get what you're trying to do now.
Yeah. Weirdly important, I feel like, for people to understand. Because I've talked about things like, I'm writing Father-Daughter Day. Oh, what's it like? Oh, it's like, Mr. and Mrs. Smith meets True Lies. And like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Because now it's like, okay, I don't even need a log line at that point. It's like, okay, I get it.
I get the tone.
Yeah.
I get it.
I used to resent comps coming up. I don't know if you did as well.
I love them.
I think there was a sense, because again, I went to school for film, and so they very much, especially at Boston University, they very much prop up the artiste, the auteur. You are a creative genius, and everyone else is lucky to be licking the water at your feet, whatever. And so you get here and you're like, comps. I'm not comparing this. It can't be compared.
Yeah.
There's nothing else out there, and you are belittling my script by even deigning to compare it to anything else that's out there.
The one of one. This is the comp.
And that just doesn't fly in reality. It's because it's also just like the speed that everything moves. It is so much easier to say, this is True Lies meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but with a father-daughter instead of with a couple.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's cool. Can I read that?
I actually think it's helpful, definitely, when you're explaining what you're writing, or if a producer's explaining it to somebody, like, what's this movie like? But also, I actually find it helpful as a writer. If you have this idea, and you're like, okay, I have the core idea of this, and then you're trying to figure out the story of it. And then I feel like as a writer, if you ask yourself, well, what is this movie like? And if you then kind of make the comps in your head, it's kind of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith or True Lies. Like you kind of then can figure out the tone. And I feel like that's really important from a writing perspective to give yourself the comp, because then you kind of know what you're shooting for, as opposed to being like, oh, it's like, I don't know. It's like, Pulp Fiction, or I don't know, Back to the Future. You're like, whoa, what?
That's interesting. Because then I feel like you can also go back to True Lies, watch it, and be like, oh, what are the big moments that I got really excited about or that really made me laugh? Not that I'm going to repeat those moments, but understanding how it functions, why it worked, will maybe help you design your own version of that. So that's a super helpful idea.
Yeah, I love that. I love comps.
I find them very hard.
They are hard, but when you hit it,
yeah,
it's like hitting a bullseye because people understand it.
And by the way, we use it in pitching. You always start with comps. This is this meets this. And you see everyone nodding like, okay, I understand the 20-minute pitch I'm about to receive. Thank you for that. Yeah. It's extremely helpful and extremely important. Because also, by the way, just practically, if you're pitching to a studio, they're going to want to know, oh, it's like this hit show? Yeah. That hit show made this many millions of dollars for that company. I want another hit show that's just like that. So now I'm going to lean in and listen to you to see if it really is like that comp. And you better now deliver something that's really interesting. But it really actually does help you.
I agree.
Okay. Next one is trailer moments. So this one I've also hated because it always also feels like it diminishes our work. I think I need to go to therapy. There's something, I have like an ego problem or something. But like, to find the trailer moment in your movie is what are the moments that would be in the trailer? And in a trailer, it's going to be something that's really exciting because it's meant to pull audiences into that. If it's an action movie, what are the action sequences in your script that are going to pull audiences in and be like, holy shit, I've never seen that before? Or let's say you're writing a rom-com. What is the meet cute? Or what is the funny line or friend character, that you have that'll be in the trailer that makes me want to go see this rom-com? So it's making sure that your movie is sort of chock full of these moments that are just kind of moments that audiences dial into.
Yeah, I love trailer moments.
Do you write to trailer moments, or is this something you think of in revisions, or is it not something you think of at all?
I don't think of it at all, actually. It actually is brought up to me where it's like we need a trailer moment, weirdly. Hey, what are the trailer moments?
And often it's a line, like it's a really witty line that your character can say that goes right in the trailer. Yeah. And to be honest, in pitching, I have gotten the note that I should find trailer moments and like pitch around those, really. And that's really interesting because, again, when you pitch, and when you write, you want whoever's reading and or hearing your pitch to play the movie in their head as you're saying it. And if you can give a fun, quirky line or a moment that would be in a trailer, suddenly we can all see what that movie is.
Yeah. If you can get those moments, this is obviously easier said than done, where people hear it or see it and they're like, holy shit, I haven't seen that before. Yeah. That's awesome. Or like, I haven't seen this version. Then you're golden because that's what people remember.
And you're right. Usually I find I write something and I'm like, oh, that could be a trailer moment. But I don't write it intending to do a trailer moment. And I think I may go as a revision, how can I make this scene more exciting? Or how can I make this line more quippy? But I'm not thinking, how can I get it into a trailer? It just so happens that in trying to make it good, it becomes a trailer moment. So I don't think this is necessarily like writing advice to do when you're writing your script. I don't think you think about the trailer necessarily unless it's helpful to you. But when you hear it from someone saying we need a trailer moment, that this is what they're asking for.
The next one.
Yeah.
I don't even know what this means.
Arch.
Like
your villain is a little arch, which is similar to mustache twirly, which is also on our list. Your character is, it's such a, by the way, a vague definition. So I'm gonna give like my understanding of it, which is they are not nuanced. They're very kind of cliche. They're very mustache twirly means sort of those old like cartoon villains who would have those long mustaches and they would literally twirl them in their villainous moments. So it's someone like that. They're not motivated by something you can relate to. They're not nuanced. They are just a villain. They're arch.
Yeah, I've had this problem, I think, with a lot of my villains where time and time again, I'm like almost there to having enough nuance for a villain, but not enough, where I have to always add a little more depth to the villain. The one villain I always kind of refer to is Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just his performance, but he's such a good villain.
He killed it. Yeah.
Freaking killed it.
It's usually with villains as well, by the way, as I think we short shrift our villains in terms of making them full and complete characters the same way we service our heroes. Sometimes it can happen to your hero if your hero is just kind of maybe too Captain America-y.
Yeah.
But I think Arch typically refers to villains.
I think so. It sounds like it does. Moving on to heightened.
Heightened. This action scene is reading a little flat, Josh. Can you heighten it a little bit more?
Could you also say give it a little trailer moment in this scene?
Yeah.
Do they tie together?
I mean, we need a trailer moment here. It's not quite reading as exciting as it could.
Yeah, I feel like with heightened, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I just watched something about Mission Impossible Fallout. Sorry I keep referencing Mission Impossible.
I mean, never apologize.
And this is the Henry Cavill movie.
Yeah.
Do you remember the bathroom fight?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the bathroom fight started where it was just this is pre-production. It started in just a square bathroom. Mm-hmm. And our boy McHugh was like, this needs to be heightened. Mm-hmm. Like, something needs to be fixed in this. So they ended up putting a glass wall, or I guess a partition, in the middle of the bathroom. So it separated Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise, and then the bad guy who comes in. And the point being is it made the scene feel so much more fun when you could kind of run around a wall or get thrown through a wall. And in just something in a confined space, the scene got heightened because of this one wall that was added.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's a very small level heightening, I feel like. That's just kind of like a workaround.
Yeah. What's interesting about this word is because it can be used in that sense of like amping up an action sequence. And I've also heard it in terms of he goes into a bar and the bar is kind of like any tiki bar you'd go to, but it's heightened, which means that it's a tiki bar like dialed to 11, right?
Yes.
So like I kind of think of John Wick goes into a hotel, but it's the hotel is heightened. There's something that feels extra to this hotel. It's a bit more world building. If it's the tiki bar I mentioned, it's not just like a few kitschy tiki bar things in it. It's like maybe there's an actual sort of like cave tunnel you can go to that leads you to a different part of the bar that's like far more mysterious and feels like it's underground and under a volcano to like really give you this a heightened sense of a tiki bar, right? It just kind of, it is dialing things to 11.
Yeah, I kind of gave the action example, of course, but that's sort of where I feel when I hear heightened. It's exactly that. It's like amping shit up as much as you can.
Yeah.
But not too much.
No, I mean, if you want it to stay grounded, but heightened. Yeah. All these fucking terms. Okay, the next one was new to me till fairly recently. Stunt casting? Yeah. I mean, your fucking wife is a casting director. But when I first heard this, I mean, it's been a few years now, I was like, all right, I'm going to Google this because what the fuck does that mean? Are they a stunt actor? Like a stunt actor? A coordinator? A stunt coordinator? What does this mean? Oh, I gotcha.
Sure.
So, Josh, since your wife is an Emmy Award-winning casting director, do you want to tell us?
Stunt casting is when you basically cast a big star or a big personality in something to make you say, oh my God, there's so-and-so. An example, the examples that I thought of were Brad Pitt when he was in Friends.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Bill Murray in Zombieland.
Right.
Kevin Hart when he was in Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
Those are some examples of, we need to get Derek Jeter in this scene. That's stunt casting.
Right.
Just to make you be like, oh my God, Derek Jeter. And then it's a moment. Oh my God, did you see Derek Jeter in that movie?
Interesting. Yeah. So it's not necessarily we have to get like our main character has to be Derek Jeter. It means in this scene, we're going to stunt cast it. We're going to have someone fucking epic enter the tiki bar. And they're just there for a moment, maybe.
I think that's yes, definitely. It could be argued that someone like Alec Guinness, when he did Obi-Wan Kenobi, was stunt casting because he was like a star compared to everyone else.
See, I think that's also a good point too, because that's also how it can be used, right? Where like maybe the rest of it, we don't have the money to afford a full cast of stars, but we're going to stunt cast this. We're going to have one A-lister in here that everyone's going to be like, oh, I got to go see that dude in that movie.
Yeah, but I just feel like now it's more so like cameo appearances.
I think you're right.
Smaller things. Or,
yeah.
Oh my God, that voice of the robot is, someone that we all know and love.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that
Oh, hey, you're welcome. Make it a price.
Make it for a price.
Make it for a price.
This feels self-explanatory. Maybe we have to be able to afford this movie, is what they're saying. We need it, but here's the caveat for writers, is we need it to feel big, but we need it to be affordable. Make it for a price. That's usually when I hear it. Again, because I tend to work in bigger genre things. But it means make it budget friendly.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Sticky concept.
Oh, I like this. I like this one.
What is it, Josh?
I like, the sticky concept. That's an idea that I just can't get out of my brain. Tasha told me this idea about this talking dog, and it was just, I need to know more.
See, I don't think that's what this is.
Okay, then.
I think this is a negative.
Really?
Yeah, I think sticky concept is like, ooh, it's a sticky concept. I'm not sure.
What?
Yeah.
I've been
like, I want to do a movie about a slave owner who falls in love with a slave, and you're like, oof, that's a sticky concept. We want to stay away from that.
Oh, that's so crazy. I've always been under the impression that, that's a sticky concept. It's like one of those things that that just sticks.
Oh, shit. Well, we're at an impasse. I guess when you're out there, let us know how people are using it.
Well.
What if your concepts, people are saying they're sticky concepts, and you're like, thank you.
This entire
really?
time.
They don't mean it?
It's Meet the Parents meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're like, that's sticky. I'm like, yes. That's amazing. I've been going for sticky concepts my whole life. Or
vice versa. They're telling me it's a sticky concept. I'm like, damn, all right, back to the drawing board. But really, they're like, no, this is amazing.
Years have gone by. All right, well, I don't know. Someone settle this for us. All right, just two left. Two-hander. Mm-hmm. When a movie's a two-hander.
Yeah.
Two-handers are seen a lot of times in rom-coms, action movies.
Yes.
Let's just say Bad Boys, which I've referenced a million times. I just referenced Hobbs and Shaw.
Perfect.
We already talked about Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah.
It's when two characters are like in the movie for 90% of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's about them.
Yeah. I usually see it in action movies. Two-hander.
Yeah.
Two-hander.
It's a two-hander. Oh, these two people are on the run. I love two-handers.
Yeah. Bad Boys is a perfect example. Mm-hmm. Okay. The sort of opposite of that is an ensemble. I've often heard this in TV shows like Friends. Josh brought up is an ensemble cast, meaning there's, I forget how many of them there are. 5? Just going to throw that number out there.
No, there's 6. Yeah.
6, sorry. 3 and 3.
God.
Oh, God, I'm terrible. 6. There's 6. So everyone's kind of like equally awesome. Everyone, you want to know all of them. They're all quirky and interesting in their own right. Ocean's 11 is another ensemble cast. It's a bunch of stars, all of whom share a lot of screen time really together, and they're all key to the movie going forward. So obviously we always have a ton of characters in our shows and our movies, but it's an ensemble if those like that 5 main cast or that 6 main cast are key to the movie moving forward at all times.
Yeah.
The same way that the two-hander is 2 people.
I'm surprised you didn't shout out Fast and Furious.
I thought I would leave it alone this week. You tried to tease me in several times, but I didn't take the bait.
Those are the terms.
Those are the terms. If you think of any others that you have questions about, obviously let us know because we enjoy this topic. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Quote of the day.
Quote of the day.
It is not the most brilliant that excel in film, but the most patient. Martin Scorsese. Mm-hmm. And I think today I'm going to do something that my mom has wanted for a really long time that I've been avoiding, but she deserves it.
Yes.
Good night, Mom.
Good night.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist, music by 414 Beg, which you can find on Spotify.